God, do you want to talk about the Wheel of Time show?
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Nobody even bother watching that. Oh,
My wife
man.
watched it
No.
before she read the books, and she was like,
No.
I like some of the ideas. The show wasn't very good. And then she read the books, and she was like, oh, my Lord. What did they do to these
Yeah,
this series?
it's a
Like,
massacre.
what in the world?
Is it like Aragon, where it's like
Worse.
okay,
Like,
yeah, because
so
Aragon, it
much
still
worse.
looked like kind of looked like Aragon, just a little bit, like what you would
Dude, it's
imagine.
almost like
Kinda.
comical. Like they come from like the most diverse, like in the show. It's like the most diverse town you can ever imagine, and getting attacked by bugs.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's better than Rings of Power. I think it might be worse than Rings of Power. It just doesn't have the
I
same
believe it.
attention as Rings of Power.
Think
But
so.
yeah, no. So like the most diverse town ever, right? And like a big part in the books was that like one of these characters that's really old, he notices the main character. He's like, "Oh, you have these feats that kind of seem like they're from this like completely other town," which would then like hint off that he's his father. He's not born from the town that he thinks he's born from. That there's more to his past, right? And I'm like, well, they got to take that out of here, right? Because like, there's an Indian woman, there's a black woman, there's Asian people, there's white people come from the same town. How the fuck are you going to tell who's from where? And no shit, they still stick that scene in there, which they've taken, and it's like a half like human lion person, and they turned into like a black lion guy with like dreads. Like it's so bad. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you have these features, and I could tell you're not from this place." It's like how
They said that out loud. They said that out loud.
Yeah.
Is that you don't? Okay,
Well, it's from the book, but it doesn't make sense if everyone looks so different.
Yeah,
you know, when you're looking at them from the casting.
Yeah. There's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason things are cast a certain way. Like even when there's nothing but vanilla faces on screen, there's like typically a good reason for it. Like it's a
Vanilla
medieval.
faces?
Yeah.
Because I
Like
think
it's
like in particular, it was like I don't remember if it was like his eye color, his hair color was like different. It wasn't like anyone else in the town. But again, in the show, it's like everyone couldn't look any more different from anyone else possible. But yeah.
And people, I'm sorry, some people look the same in real life. Like there's that whole thing where we have like a handful of doppelgangers. Like everybody has somebody that's almost identical to them walking around right now.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a fact. So, but yeah.
Wheel of Time is bad. The show.
I heard what really bugged me was when that shit first came out. I knew how bad it was. Like I looked into it because I was curious. You know, it's Amazon show too. They had some other stuff coming down.
Yeah, had a massive budget. Yeah.
Yep. And then Sanderson endorsed. Like Sanderson was like cool with it at first.
Well,
I mean,
isn't that where Sanderson kind of made a name for himself too, or was he already
established? Well, yeah, from the books. Yeah, he got chosen to finish the series. Like he had like a whole thing of notes.
Apparently, they were great.
Yeah, he didn't really like endorse it. He just like, I mean, he did a review with it actually with Daniel Green, and there's like a great edit of it where he just tears the show apart.
Good.
Like he doesn't like tear it apart. Like he does it very like professionally, but he's just like
good.
You know, well,
that's
like,
what we need.
They're talking about like season 2, and they basically do, like for example, there's a scene where a guy's supposed to show like his swordsmanship that he's trained throughout the time, and like this is the scene to show that he's grown, he's come so far, and he's going to beat this other sword master. But instead, they literally go for like an Indiana Jones shooting style with his like just magic powers. Just one hits him. It's like, oh, you just totally ruined the scene and everything about it for something that like looks cool for like a 2-second TikTok. You know,
not worth destroying lore. That is never worth destroying lore. Like especially if you're doing a TV show, you have an entire fucking TV show ahead of you. Why are you hung up on this moment, right? Like, dude, speaking of changes, like I was saying earlier about the Thrones folks deleting a character, like this is a character that like falls in love with one of the literal protagonists of the story that's being told. And not only that, is like the only person to ever like tame an actual wild dragon.
Yeah.
And she does it like the old fashioned way by like bringing it mutton and like, you know what I mean? Like training a wolf, you know what I mean? And it's just such a cool backstory. She's actually written into the story as a person of color, literally described as a little brown like woman, and you mean this show that is so proud of its diversity, where it like skin swapped for like an entire family line just to have the special people also be like inclusive, right? You're telling me that those people are going to delete the African looking lady that's actually very important to the story, and if the rumors are to be believed, it's to prop up a different person of color on the cast that's been there this whole time, that got her dragon stolen from the mean white man. She needs to get her revenge, I'm sure, is what they're going for.
It's gotta be hard for the people writing these shows, though, because as has been revealed over the past months, they have a checklist of things they must do.
Oh.
And so you have a story, and like the story's good, and they're like, no, you need to fix it and do all these different things. Like,
so I would push back on that.
Work?
And it's like listening to Sanderson is a great way to say that, to kind of get this idea of how it kind of works, right? Because the writers are behind it. Like they're all for this. Like, oh, you want us to put more like black people? You want us to put more Asian people? And yeah, go for it.
A lot of them, yeah.
Oh yeah, most of them, right? I mean, they push for the Writers Guild protests and stuff like that. And like Tim McKay said, like Sanderson was a consultant, all right, and the dude who finished the books like literally would tell him like, you can't do this. Like this is not gonna work thematically. The number one writer, like probably the best writer of our generation, is telling these people that this is not going to work thematically or whatever in some story structure, and they're like, no. It just works different for TV. And
we know better than you.
Yeah, we know better than you. And the show is completely failing. It's like the audacity for you to think that you could write a better story. It doesn't matter that it's a different format. The formats don't make that much of a difference. Is it different? Yes. That much of a difference? No.
No.
Listen to Sanderson.
Bro, so. I have the first Game of Thrones book in comic book form. Found them, by the way, people, avid readers out there, all you gay men that read books. Not the straight ones. We know straight men don't read. But do you want a good deal on like mainstream comics and stuff? Go to like thrift stores, like for real. Like go on Amazon. You can type in used books. They're like all $5 to $10 at most for like graphic novels. So anyway, I got all 4 of them because it takes fucking 4 graphic novels over 100 pages to convert an actual novel, like full length fantasy novel. And when you read through it, it is like scene for scene. They cared about accuracy from book to comic. Okay, there's some stuff that gets cut away, but it's not that important. It is literally throwaway lines that's kind of like filler descriptions and stuff like that, because it just doesn't make sense to put everything into the comic. It's already over 400 pages, right? So
that's a serious comic.
Yeah, I mean, and I'd assume that there's some that gets lost from comic to movie or TV show too, but it should be in the same vein where it's like literally things that you can cut, like just little in between descriptions and you know what I mean, stuff like that. But to completely change it all through a hubristic like mindset like that's just saying is just not the way.
You just watched a clip from the Iron Seas podcast. Make sure to like this, subscribe. It helps us out a little bit. And please catch the show live at 9:30 Eastern every Tuesday.